Good morning, everyone. There is a look from our Unico U.S. Bancorp Tower building downtown Portland. Well, you know our first guest from his roles in hundreds of movies and TV shows. His new memoir shares an unfiltered look at his life, his career in Hollywood, and his personal battles then and now. We welcome back to AM Northwest actor, activist, and the author of To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It, our friend Ed Begley Jr. Great to see you again.
Ellen, it's always great to see you.
Oh my gosh. First of all, To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It says a lot.
It does. I tried to get to the Temple of Tranquility by rushing. You can't get there that way. You certainly can't get there through a bottle of vodka. I thought I'd find serenity in that way. It's not quite sustainable, it turns out.
No, that took a toll on your life, your alcohol addiction, didn't it?
It did. Drugs and alcohol, and I kept trying to get some sense of bliss or relief or numbness from that. And I don't recommend it. It doesn't work very well in the long run, or even in the short run.
Right.
You can get into a lot of trouble, and I got into a lot.
A lot of trouble. Well, your childhood, let's start. First of all, the book starts off with a bang. You're going to get your driver's license at 15, 16. You're in the car.
Yeah, 15 and a half.
Yeah.
15 and a half, your birthday, you qualified for a DMV learner's permit. And so I went to get that, but to get that, I needed a document called a birth certificate. My dad went to the business manager to get it and handed it to me, and he's driving the car. I open it up to see what it looks like. Is it written on parchment with a quill? You know,
Yeah.
I'm old, so what does it look like?
Right.
So I look at it, and Dad's driving. I go, Dad, why is there no mother's name on my birth certificate? He just keeps driving. And finally, after about 30 very long seconds, well, Amanda wasn't your mother. The woman I knew to be my mother, the woman that raised me as my mother,
who
died when I was 7. Yeah,
right.
She died when I was fairly young, but I knew her well and visited the grave. That turns out was not my mother, this woman pictured right now. And so I said, well, okay, who was my mother? Right. Sandy's your mother. As much the explosion in my head was with Amanda, then the news that this woman, Sandy, that she was my mother was extraordinary because I loved her. I was just crazy about her.
But how did you know Sandy?
We would go several times a year to Grand Central Station often and meet her. She'd give us a thing with Lincoln Logs or something, or City Blocks or some toy, or an Easter basket. I was crazy about it. My sister and I both. My sister once took the Long Island Railroad all the way to Grand Central Station. She started asking commuters where Sandy was. She thought she lived there. We saw her there so much.
Yeah, and your sister is a full sister, is also Sandy's daughter.
Yes, all now finally verified by 23andMe. That all is true.
Yeah.
But my brother Tom was not my brother. He has a different father, and we through 23andMe learned that that father was an Ashkenazi Jew. We just learned that fairly recently. So it's great to verify some of these things. You're told a lot of different tales, but the DNA don't lie. It's
so fascinating because, first of all, you and your sister, who are full-blooded, your bio mom did not live with you. She was an affair your dad had with, she was an NBC page, right?
Yeah, he took up with a page at NBC, and not only one child, but had a second child, me, with her. So I don't know what the arrangement was or lack of arrangement.
What? Yeah.
I wonder if my stepmother turned out to be my stepmother, if she knew about Sandy and Sandy knew about her.
Right.
I know for a fact, actually, that Sandy knew about my mother.
Right.
Because that's verified by everybody. But what did Amanda know about Sandy? I don't know that, and everybody's gone, sadly.
So as a child, you live in pretty much a modest home, really, right?
Yeah, 1,700 square feet, a modest home on Long Island. But my dad had a bit of luxury with that because we had a second home in Van Nuys. I was born at Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, and but I went to grade school out in Merrick, New York, a beautiful little 2-bedroom home there, quite modest, but it was great. When you're a kid, you think it's quite spacious.
Right, and you know your dad to be an actor.
Wonderful actor, Academy Award-winning actor. That comes later, but I knew him to be a wonderful stage actor and a TV actor, and back then even did some wonderful movies. He was in 12 Angry Men, Juror Number 10.
Yeah.
What a great actor he was.
What a great actor.
Amazing.
So do you remember the fun times, like being in the parade, like we're looking at the video here of you in the parade?
I remember that night like it was yesterday. In Studio City, I lived for 26 years, just one very short block behind where those cars are now. And yeah, I remember that night very well. To be in a car in a parade, I was like, wow, my dad's a star. Now maybe one day I'll be a star.
Yeah.
But I had it all wrong, Helen. I thought it was all about, the salary and the parades and everything. It wasn't for me about the work. I had this wake me when I'm famous attitude.
Yeah.
My dad made it look so easy. I thought, well, I could be an actor. Why don't get me a Gunsmoke? Get me a Perry Mason. I want to be a regular, you know, on Wagon Train or one of these shows.
Yeah.
My Favorite Martian, get me on something. And I never got any work because I hadn't had any training.
Right, because you didn't at that time.
Yeah.
One of the shows you were on early on was My Three Sons.
That was my first job, and I kept my makeup on when I was done with the show. That one day of shooting, I finally got into Screen Actors Guild, and I left my makeup on and did my paper route, which was my day job, and left the makeup on hoping, this is tragic, Helen, hoping that somebody would recognize me. It hadn't even been processed. The film wasn't developed yet. It wasn't, let alone edited and aired. I thought maybe somebody would see I have makeup on and go, wait a minute, are you an actor?
You really, did a lot of comedy to start, too, and I didn't realize that. You did a lot of stand-up comedy at the Troubadour.
I did. I wanted to get on at the Troubadour for years. I would go there and see these wonderful acts. People who later became friends like Don Henley and Don McLean and, you know, Joni Mitchell and these James Taylor. Wonderful people. And you could, for a $2 cover and a 2-drink minimum, you could see people like that. The furthest seat away was from that camera to me, you know, maybe 20 some odd feet. It wasn't a bad seat in the house, and I went there nearly every night for many, many years. It was a great way to meet people and hear great music.
Well, and one time you're walking home after that gig, it's still in your police uniform that you wore to do stand-up at one point.
Yeah,
right?
It's interesting how we tell stories, though. For years I told the story where I was at the Troubadour, had the police uniform on, and went to Tana's next door, and they arrested me. The sheriff's department took me and arrested me for no reason. I had actually not been on at the Troubadour. I was there drinking, and I did have the shirt on. I'd take my badge off, but I had this shirt that had these little patches.
Like a cop.
Yeah, it looks like a cop. You know, it said motor pool. So because of that, they said you're impersonating an officer, and I went to county jail for 3 very unfortunate days. Don't do anything wrong on the weekend in LA back then.
No.
They had no ATMs back then. You couldn't get $500 to save your life.
Get out.
No,
yeah.
I didn't know anybody that had $500.
Yeah.
So I spent the weekend in jail and did some of my best material. Keep the people in jail, keep their minds off other things.
Because one big guy asked you, what's your beef? Which I guess means, what are you in here for?
Yeah, he said, what's your beef? That he's there for manslaughter, which is beef jerky. I'm there for impersonating an officer. So I don't know what I'm going to do. And so.
But you made friends with him. He loved your sense
of
humor, right?
I helped spot him with his sit-ups and what have you. He said, just tell anybody that, you know, you're in the cell with me and they won't bother you.
You have so many bizarre stories. Like the time you're living in a house, you're on your own, obviously, and your garbage is stinky, and neighbors complaining to you about your garbage. And later on, come to find out.
Yeah, we open up the can. There's some hefty bags in there, and it's so malodorous. We put it up. I said, somebody must have hit a dog or something, you know, and put it in the trash can. It smelled so bad. So I went off for some errands. When I came back, there was like some detectives there and people taking pictures of something. I couldn't see what. What do you got? Keep moving, son. I said, well, I live here. I went around with my bike and put it down. Wanted to look over the fence. Get away from the fence. And then a cop came and talked to me. Said, have you seen anything unusual at your trash can? No. What's going on? Just stay away from the fence.
Right.
So I went up on the roof when they were gone and looked up down there. I looked down the alley, I should say, and there was something there. I couldn't see what it was. It looked like a hassock or an ottoman or something. It was a torso. It was a head and arms and legs. It was a person.
Yeah.
You just don't even think it's going to be something like that.
No, that's incredible. And was it because your garbage was empty because you were so good at recycling at that point?
I know. That's probably why they picked my can. It had nothing but room in it. You know,
right.
The black bin. Well, they didn't have black bins back then, but the trash can itself. You know, I would go to the recycling center. There was no curbside pickup back then, but I had very little in my trash can because of that very reason. I'd drive to San Fernando to a recycling center, recycle nearly everything.
Wow, you're amazing. Okay, we have so much more to talk about. The book again is To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It, and we'll be right back. More with Ed Begley Jr. when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back to AM Northwest. We're back with actor, activist, and the author of To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It, Ed Begley Jr. Let me get right to the start. Why write the book? Why write the memoir?
I didn't think I was writing a book. My daughter Hayden came to me, said, you know, I've got my cell phone here. I want to get your entire life in Hollywood, or as much as my data plan and battery will allow. So she said, well, okay, it's running. What's it like, you know, before there was before there was talkies and movable type? What was it like growing up for you without cell phones and all that? I started to do this, but after one day, she was busy, obviously busy, she has a life, and I thought, well, I'm gonna take some notes for my daughter. Maybe one day there'll be a ghostwriter that wants to help me write a book. And that's when it happened, Helen.
But this is written by you.
All by me. The keyboard became like a Ouija board that actually worked.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I wanted to go up in the attic of my mind and write about something. It took me down the basement. Why is it pulling me over here?
Right.
It was just like that, and I started writing something about, you know, going with my friend James Jeremias to visit his friend who lived, you know, in a tree house near this saloon, and it became about something else entirely.
Well, now you have to finish that story, because it's a great story.
Because we went and smoked a joint, which is what people did back in that year, 1968, and that's all we had. So we went up to the main house to smoke a joint with these other people, and just a bunch of hippies living there who smoked a joint. One guy had some music he wanted to publish. And we went back to the saloon and to the tree house near the saloon. I should probably mention that saloon was not a real saloon. It was part of the Spawn Ranch, if you remember that from history. These were all the Manson gang.
Right.
And Charles Manson was there. We met and smoked a joint with Charles Manson. And we didn't know that till a year later, just some hippies that had a joint.
Yeah.
That a year later went, wait a minute, those are the people we smoked a joint. Asked David Kurland if that was them, and of course it was.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy. I want to talk about some of the loves of your life. So let's talk about Cindy Williams.
Cindy Williams.
Yeah.
I wanted to date Cindy. I wanted to marry Cindy. I met her on this show, this great show called Room 222.
Yeah, I love that TV show.
That's where I learned acting, but in front of a camera. You know, I should have been in a class, but I kind of learned on the set.
Right.
But she was so great. And, Richard Dreyfuss was a guest star on that show. Bruno Kirby. I met all these great friends. And Cindy, fortunately, had very good rules about dating a practicing alcoholic, so that didn't quite work out with her.
And didn't your first date, didn't you take her in like a golf cart or something?
Oh, I picked her up in my electric car, which you're correct to state that it's like a golf cart with a windshield wiper and a horn. And it was so slow I hadn't fully charged her. The hill was too much. There was a butterfly passing us by as we tried to pull up to the restaurant, you know. Ridiculous. There was a kid on big wheel passing us by.
You and Cindy, though, became good friends.
Great friends. We never dated past that first date, and I got a great deal out of that. She was like the best sister you could ever imagine. My biological sister, Eileen, is the best in the world, but
right.
a close second is my other sister, Cindy Williams. I just loved her. She passed away a year ago, and I still miss her. She's extraordinary.
Another, well, first of all, let's talk about Mary Hartman, because that was kind of the big break, wasn't it?
It was my big break. Before that, I was just a day player on Adam 12 and on, you know, all these other shows, Room 222, on Maude, doing, you know, a line or two or maybe 5 lines, but not much. But after Mary Hartman, I started to get noticed and recognized and got better parts. Keep in mind, I had no lines in that. I finally gave America what they wanted, was for me to shut up.
You give credit to, when you talked about your alcoholism, you give credit to John Belushi and his wife Judy for saving you. You're down in Mexico, you're at a hotel.
We were in Durango, yes, at the El Presidente Hotel. We're working on Going South, a movie Jack Nicholson starred in and directed with my dear friend Mary Steenburgen, her first movie. But I was in the bar there drinking up a storm. And you just saw a shot with John and Judy Belushi. They took me out. They said, you got to get out of this bar, dude. You're killing yourself. I was drinking so much tequila and vodka and what have you that they dragged me out almost physically. Come on, you're going to see some of the town. You're going to get out of the bar. So John and Judy both were a great influence on me. They got me to sober up while I was there in Durango.
And you mentioned Jack Nicholson. He also, a lot of people, you mention them and talk about how they helped you. Jack Nicholson helped you.
He was directing a movie. Everybody in town knew that back then in 1977. And my wife, Ingrid, at the time said, you got to call him up. He's your friend. Ask him for a job. I said, I'm not going to call him up. I don't like asking him for favors. That's why I'm still his friend, I think. I don't ask him for anything. Call him up. She just wore me down to shut her up. I said, Jack, if anything comes up, you know, craft service, anything, I'll do anything on the movie. Well, Beggs, let me look into it. And about 3 days later, Beggs, they've written a part called Whitey. Do you think you can handle that, Begg? So I had this part with maybe 11 lines or something, but was elated to have it, to be in a movie with Jack Nicholson, who I adored, a friend and just an idol, a guy I worshiped from the earliest days of my youth. I just was crazy about him, and now I'm in a movie with him. But the pressure was such, I decided to numb things by sitting at that bar and drinking, and it didn't help my work.
Right.
I finally got serious about my acting, and he helped me do that, and I'm forever in his debt for that.
At one point, he said to you, is that all you got?
Yeah, when I did my first close-up in the one relatively big speech I had like 2 or 3 lines in a row. That was a big part of my thing there. We were at the bank, and he had just cleaned out all of Mary Steenburgen's riches from the bank, held me at gunpoint. So I said, I wouldn't figure you doing that to Julia, with totally dead eyes and nothing going on. He said, Beggs, is that all you're going to give me? and now I'm panicked. I'm on so much adrenaline, my heart's pounding. I got to do so. I use that adrenaline as I did in that accident I had on Sunset Boulevard too. I used adrenaline as my friend and just kind of got something going and did something other than just, you know, dead. And he said, that's great, Beggs.
Now, you mentioned that accident. You were really drunk.
I was on a quart of vodka. I was on a bottle of Chardonnay and a Quaalude and a half, and I hit all these cars. But I'm 25 years old, and I'm on so much adrenaline. I come out talking something like this.
Yeah.
Because you're young, and adrenaline's a strong drug. I said, guys, there's 2 officers right next to where I hit all these cars. I said, I'm going to take care of everybody in a second. I got to talk to these sheriff's department guys. Guys, do me a favor. Arrest me and take me in. I've been pumping these brakes since back at Doheny. This car is defective. I've had it in 4 times this week. You will help my case with my lawsuit if you arrest me and take me in.
And?
Not only did they not arrest me, I had them under the car looking for a leak in the brake line. There's no leak in the brake line. I hadn't touched them. That was the problem with the brakes. You have to actually touch the pedal, as it turns out.
It's crazy. They let you go.
They let me get in the car and drive. I told them, I said, I live just a couple of blocks away. My ID said otherwise. You know, it said where I lived over in the valley. They didn't even barely look at it. Oh, yeah, it said Begley Jr. I got a pass, I think, because of my dad's name.
Yeah.
Okay, just drive home carefully now. And by that time, I was so out of it. You know, the guy whose car I had destroyed, I said, I'm going to take you home. And I started driving back to take this guy home, and I heard this noise. I said, bang. It was going bang, 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 this metallic sound. I said, what the hell is that? The guy whose car I had destroyed said, you're knocking the mirrors off the cars that are parked on Sunset.
Oh, my gosh.
You need to correct to the left a little bit.
Oh, my gosh.
Totally out of it.
Totally out of it. Okay, let's go to, you're married to Ingrid. You loved her very much. You have 2 kids, but things are not going well. You're deciding, you know, we need to move. Let me get a job as a weatherman, something like that. And then the phone rings.
Yeah, I was ready to move to another town and start over, try to be a big fish in a small pond in Atlanta or something, get a job somewhere at a local station in any way. And my agent called and said, you know, something I didn't understand. I said, wait, slow down. What are you talking about? What is a Saint Elsewhere? What does that even mean? I said, oh, it's a hospital show? Okay. When do I go in? Okay, later today. Great. Where did I pick up the material? Went and read for it and didn't get the part. And this is really the theme for my whole life. I didn't get what I wanted, but I got something even better. The part that I got was only 2 lines. It wasn't a regular on the show like the other part I didn't get. But the part that I had with 2 lines wound up being one of the most popular characters in the show. The part that was a regular that I wanted was done by the 3rd year. He gets shot and killed, you know, for being the hospital rapist. So I dodged a bullet. I got better than I ever wanted, and that's been the story of my life in Screen Actors Guild and outside of Screen Actors Guild.
You did a show where you got multiple Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
How did that feel to be recognized for your talent?
It felt fantastic, and finally I was ready for it. I went back and studied because of my friend Bruno Kirby and other friends like Cindy and Richard Dreyfuss that I knew that were serious actors. Went back and studied, so I was ready in 1982 when I auditioned for that part that I didn't get and got the lesser part that proved to be better than anything I could ever wish for. I was finally ready and done the work to, you know, be serious about it, and I got nominated every year for 6 years. It was a joy to do every minute. Bruce Paltrow changed my life with that part.
Wow, that's amazing. Rochelle, let's talk about her. When you 2 had kind of off and on at the beginning, right?
We split up 25 times in the first 3 years. 25. We were not married yet. We were just dating. But, you know, I was not ready to be in a relationship. Unfortunately, I finally woke up after about 3 years and saw what was right in front of me was the best thing I could probably ever find.
Yeah, you guys make a good team.
We do.
You really do.
Great team.
You're
we
very
still laugh.
funny together.
We have a great time together.
Yeah. But initially, early on, you're like, I'm not going to get married. I don't want to have kids.
No, all those things I said to her, I want to make a clear look. In case you're looking for somebody to have kids with, I will never have any more children. You know, I have 2 wonderful kids. I don't want any more. I don't want to ever move. I don't want to ever get married. So just know that if that's what you want, find somebody else. And then, of course, I got married. I had another wonderful child. And we moved from that house to an even better house, a LEED Platinum home. So
yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, my goals were measured in pence. In each case, I got, you know, riches beyond my wildest dreams.
We just showed a picture of your kids. I want to ask what they think of your memoir.
They all seem to like it. That's what they're telling me so far. There's nothing too incendiary that has to do. I think they know all the stories already. So
yeah, you've told them all the stories.
Yeah, there's no big revelation that I can recall. But they're great people. I have 3 wonderful children that all have great jobs and are ethical, wonderful, kind, and caring people. And I have also 3 fantastic grandchildren that are the same, just wonderful 2-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old grandson.
And you have a new addition to the family, Bunny.
I've got
Tell
a little
me,
dog,
Bunny.
Bunny, that I found in the best possible way. My daughter Hayden got her car impounded, so we went there to the impound lot, and she found this dog there, this little black terrier. She said, let me just bring it home, and then we'll clean it up. And it was not black, it was actually a golden-looking
Look
terrier.
at it, so cute.
There she is right there. She was so covered in soot and oil, and we took her just to take a picture of her to put that picture online so we could find the owner. Nobody ever claimed her. She did not have a chip, but the minute that she saw me, I saw her for the first time. She came to me, and she hasn't left my side since. Well, not this moment, she's not with me.
Right.
But
She stayed with you.
she has.
And has she helped you with your Parkinson's? You were diagnosed. You've had it since, what, 2004?
I've had it since 2004. We didn't know what it was. They thought I had a brain lesion by all the stuff that was happening, and that proved to be a negative with the CAT scan or MRI that they did. So 2016, it was hard to avoid. I went to a speech therapist. I was starting to slur my words. I was
Right.
not as articulate as I wanted to be as an actor. And then the woman, after the first session, said, this guy's got Parkinson's, he doesn't even know it. And so we went to 2 neurologists, and they verified it. But this is the way Parkinson's can be in 2023.
It's amazing. You're not shaking at all.
I know, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Do
Good
you think
medicine.
Bunny has helped you?
Bunny has helped me immeasurably. She's an emotional support dog. She just sleeps next to me every night. She's just heaven on earth. And I normally take her with me in the drive up here, but I had to get up here quick, so I didn't
And
bring her.
you took TriMed over here.
Always. You didn't need to pitch this wonderful transit
It's
system
so
here.
great.
$250 for a day pass for a senior. Come on.
There you go.
It's just
Love
because
it.
I'm a cheapskate. I don't even care about the environment. I just want to save money, for God's sake.
There you go. The book again is To the Temple of Tranquility and Step on It. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen.
And we'll be right back. Don't go away.